Hi everybody, and this is another edition of the book report. So obviously in this show what we do is we will look at all kinds of different kinds of chess books, and I'll give you an idea of what's going on in them and for what kind of players this will be good for. Before I start the show, let me just remind everybody to come and follow me on Twitch. The Next Move, that is the name of the Twitch channel. What we are going to do is we're going to have a simul at 3 p.m. Central European Time on Saturday, 3rd of June, this Saturday. Everybody is welcome to play. I don't care how strong you are. I don't care how many of them are you. I'll just play as many people as I need. If GMs want to come play as well, then please bring it on. So it'll be a 60-minute, 60-second increment as well. And then, let's do this. Okay, so today's book is called the Perfect Your Chess book. Okay, Volokitsyn and Grabinski, these guys, this is a really nice book. Okay, this book is for more advanced players, so just note that if you're a weaker player and you're watching this show, obviously you can still learn things, so do go ahead. But for the 1800 plus players, this is a nice little book for you. The book is split up into 3 different chapters, and in every chapter there is about 100 puzzles, and they describe the puzzles to be like the first 40 of every 100 is like for FIDE Master Strength, which I don't agree with because some of them are quite easy, but they do get very hard. And then the next 40 is supposed to be for International Master Strength, and the last 20 is supposed to be for Grandmaster Strength. But just get cracking on these. It really teaches you a lot, shows you a lot of different positions, a lot of different things that you can learn. So let's have a quick look at one of the positions in the first chapter. Okay, so here the key is obviously in these type of positions, when you look at the board here, is to assess the position. So for those of you who don't know what assessing is we take a position and we start looking at all the elements in the position. Okay, that's what the Steinitz elements are for. So here we'll start looking at what kind of pieces do we have, what open files are there, what open diagonals are there, how many pawn islands are there, what pawn weaknesses are there. The list goes on. Okay, so we can have a quick look here. We can just see that black's pieces here are very nicely defended. Everything is working together quite well. Okay, whereas white's pieces, things are a little messy. Okay, because they all having to try and defend each other, and some are undefended, and so on and so forth. He also has this 2 isolated pawns. Okay, which can also be quite a bit of a weakness. Okay, so if you quickly assess this position, you'll realize that there is one big problem for white, and that is that this rook over here, the rook on c4, has this daunting task of having to defend this bishop, and it doesn't have many squares on which to do that. Okay, it can only be on this square or this square, on b4 or c4. Okay, so if you can figure this out real quick, then you realize that if you can harass this rook on c4, then we'll have a tough time of trying to defend that bishop on e4. So the first move shouldn't be that hard for a decent player. Okay, after b5, we're just obviously attacking the rook, which is trying to defend the bishop. Okay, and the big problem here is that you realize that if you were to take the bishop, then obviously you just lose your rook. Okay, if you play rook b4, then after a5, there's no more places for your rook to go to. So you're going to lose this rook, or the bishop, either way, one of them. Okay, let me just mention that what kind of tactic is. This is called a deflection. Okay, we have a piece that's defending something, so if we can attack that piece, we are deflecting it from its defensive duty. Okay, with a deflection, we don't care where the piece goes to, as long as it goes away from defending the bishop. Okay, here, there obviously is now one more thing to consider here. And that is if he plays en passant. Okay, so c takes b6 en passant. Okay, now this creates all kinds of new threats. Okay, now there is suddenly this discovered attack. Okay, this rook is still undefended, which means that there are tactics up in the air. Okay, this rook needs to defend this bishop as well, which means it's just more things to consider. Okay, so obviously with the discovered, now we just take here, Now we're attacking this rook and we are attacking this rook. Okay, if he were to take back, then we can just play rook takes b6, and now suddenly you start realizing why this is such a big problem, because now we're just pinning the bishop to the rook. So we have two attackers, there's no way to defend it, no way to get out of this. He plays here, we can just take it. Can we just take it? Oh yes, yeah, sorry. I was wondering about this. I was like, wait a minute, what have I done? Okay, so we can just play here now, and if he plays here, we just play here. So, you know, you can quickly see that we can just add pressure onto this pin, okay? So if he tries to get out of this, we can just take it, take, and we pin his bishop, and after he defends it, we can just apply pressure. Now we got two attackers, he only has one defender, and there's no way to keep on defending. So he's going to lose the bishop. You know, he could have tried to counter pin you, but unfortunately we take with check. If it wasn't take with check, then he would be okay. Then he would have survived this. Okay, so that doesn't work for him. So the only other option still is to take here. Okay, but this doesn't work because we are just up way too much material. So after bishop takes rook, there is no real way for him to get any material back. After he takes here, we would just take back, and now we're up a whole piece. Okay, I guess he's got a pawn, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so we just end up being a piece up. Nothing really further much to look at here. The only other option here would have been to take here. If he goes here, now obviously we're just up a piece. Because if he takes here, we can just take his rook. Problem. If he plays his rook here, let's say. Sorry, if he plays his rook here, let's say, then we can just take it, and after he takes, we just take the pawn back. So we just up a whole piece. I don't even see any other real options for him here. He could maybe try and be sneaky with that. Could he be sneaky with that? Maybe we can just not fall for anything here and just move the rook. Because if we take, he can maybe play. So if we do take here, he can maybe play this, which would be a little bit annoying, wouldn't it? Maybe not. Maybe we can play here. So now we're attacking the rook. We still have a mate threat, and of course we're still attacking his bishop. So we can't play here because we can just go checkmate. So yeah, so I guess we could just take the pawn. Definitely possible. But otherwise, we could also just play here as well. Would do the same thing. Well, actually, this would probably just be better because now we still have this double attack. So if the rook moves, we just take the bishop. Aha! Is that true? That's not true. Darn it! He keeps on finding these little cheapos. So if he plays here, now we can't take the bishop because of this check. How annoying is this? So again, one has to really, you have to look deeper into this position. You have to calculate everything, because otherwise you're going to lose this game. Okay, but as you can see, this is typically, you know, the kind of positions. This one was an easy one, but they get harder very quickly. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So I'll flip the board here because this one's for white to play. But before I do that, let me just add a little picture for you, or a little snippet from the book, which I really did like. So have a quick look at this. I won't put it on for too long. This thing is massive, if I have to remember. So I'm going to have to make this thing a lot smaller for you guys to read it. Let me just up it there for you. See if you can read this by now. There we go. Okay, have a quick look at that. I'll just leave it up there for you for a few seconds so that you can pause even if you want to. Okay, so go ahead, pause, read this little line here from the book. It's a really nice little story with Tull in it as well. Okay, let me get that out of the way. Okay, so in our next position, you'll see that we have quite a bit of a mess going on here on the board again. Okay, so again, one has to get to the board and you have to assess the position. Okay, the first thing we can immediately see from Black's position is that his pieces are uncoordinated. Look at these two rooks, they're really not doing anything. Okay, and of course his king is stuck in the middle here. Okay, these pawns are the only defense that this king has. So as soon as you start realizing that this is the defense that he has, then we start throwing things at him just so we can break open the position. So the first move should be very easy to find. Okay, after rook takes e6 check. If he plays pawn takes check, and checkmate. So that's a really quick, easy variation to follow. So you know you can't take with that pawn. So now we can look at his king moving as well. Let's say his king runs. Okay. Trying to avoid anything here. Now after rook e5, now the problem is that we have all kinds of things with check and discovered threats. Okay. So let's show an example. Let's say if he goes queen f2. Okay. Now he's threatening, you have to be a little bit careful where you go with your pieces because he is threatening here as well and here. So you got to be careful where you go. But after something like bishop e7 check, the king has to go to g8. If it goes to e8, let me just show that, then of course we have this discovered check, winning the queen. Now if the king goes to g8, we have the same thing, funny enough. Why? Because now we have this threat of mate, because the queen covers that square. Okay, and of course we're just attacking his queen as well, so big trouble for him. He's going to lose his queen. Okay, so that's over very quickly. What else the guy's got to play? Let's say queen c8 maybe. Okay, trying to defend here. After that we play rook e7. Okay, now we're just hunting down this square because he has no way of defending this. So after bishop takes, queen b3, threatening mate, and now what? There's no way of stopping the mate. He's gonna have to lose his queen if he wants to survive this. So maybe after bishop takes here, we can just take. If he tries to go check here, we can just go king f2. Just avoiding all the checks, and now he's gonna have to play queen e8. Okay, nice and easy, not too hard. So you can quickly see what happens if he doesn't take the rook. And of course, if he does take the rook, we go queen, g6 check. So you can quickly see all these lines are covered in here. This pawn also covers this square. After there, we go bishop here. After here, we go bishop f6. And now, of course, we're just hitting on this pawn here. He has no way of defending the pawn. If he plays his rook here, then he takes away the square for his own king to run. We have a different checkmate. And of course, there's no other way to stop this from happening. Cool. Nice and quick. So also, again, not the hardest of positions, but it definitely gives you something to look at, gives you something to assess the position and to analyze through and find the right answers. Okay, let me show you the next position, but before I do, I want to also just show you another snippet real quick. This one was a fun one as well from the book. Let me just add it real quick for you. This one I think is quite smallish. There we go. Transition. There we go. Okay, so have a quick read of that as well. I'll leave it up there for a couple of seconds. So again, you can just pause the position, pause the stream now, and obviously read the damn thing yourself. Okay, I'm gonna take it away and show you the last position of the last chapter. This chapter is called Answer the Question. So basically there is a question of, can you do something? Okay, in this position they ask you whether you can take on f4. Now the reason why they ask you why if you can take on f4 is because if you have a quick look here, if you've assessed the position and you've looked at where your pieces are, you'll note that this rook has no square to go to. Okay, which means that after knight e7, the rook will be trapped. So if you do play queen, then knight e7 and your rook is trapped. But the question is, can you do it? Maybe you can. Maybe it's worth it. Okay, so in this position, do yourself a favor and pause the stream, and try and calculate this position, because things get messy very quickly here. Okay. So I'm going to give you a couple of seconds here again just to pause the stream. And then I'm going to show you what actually happened in this position as well. So here white continued with queen takes h6. Okay. And after knight takes d5, you would think that he would take back the knight, don't you? Like c takes d would make sense, wouldn't it? But there are some issues with that. You're going to have to go backwards. So white finds a beautiful move. Goes knight f5, threatening checkmate. Okay, and the other reason why he sacrifices his knight here is because he wants to open up this g file. Okay, so after pawn takes and pawn takes, now we're threatening the queen, and the other threat, which is a little bit more tricky to see here, is f4 with the rook coming to g3, which would be mate. So it's beautiful, beautiful combination idea here. So let's just show you an example. Like let's say you wanted to play queen b6, let's say, then after f4, how do you stop mate? He's gonna have to play queen f2, rook g3 check, and sacrifice his queen. And after pawn takes here, f5, still threatening to go f6, and just obviously exploiting the fact that this king is trapped in here anyway. So not very good for black. Okay, so obviously let's look at the obvious option. He takes you, he takes you, he takes. And now of course he cannot take rook takes e4, luckily, because we have all kinds of forks everywhere. Be careful, he is threatening mate. Okay, so we can't just take the rook unless it's with check. If the king goes to f8 or to h8, you can take the rook with check. But if it goes to h8, you cannot, h7, you cannot take the rook. But there's another fork now. New forky. So this is one of the problems with rooks. You know, two rooks versus a queen. If they don't coordinate very well, then there's always tactics everywhere, especially if the king is exposed like it is here. Okay, so from here, you know, I'm not going to go too deep into this position. I did with my analysis, obviously, because I figured that rook c8 is one of the best moves, because there is mate threats at the bottom here. You know, this is a bad rank here. The first rank is very vulnerable. So you know, I discerned that after queen takes d6, rook takes c3, we would play h4 and get the pawns rolling. Why? We now have two passed pawns plus our queen versus these two rooks. So what we want to do is we want to coordinate the fact that his king is open, use our passed pawns to obviously try and get these rooks to have to defend things. And once they are defensive and tied up, we can start using other pieces as well, like our king or extra pawns, etc. So there you go. That is basically just some ideas. It's a really fun book to go through too. I know it's a lot of hard work, of course, but you'll quickly find out when you get to my level that if you want to improve, a lot of hard work is required. I want to remind you guys to come follow me on Twitch. So like I said, on Saturday we will do our first simul, and hopefully, you know, if we do well and we can make a thing out of it, then we can even get these simuls done on Chess TV. I'm sure they'll let us do it because there's not a lot of simuls going on. So yeah, follow me, subscribe to my channel, give me some likes, give me some comments, and thank you guys so much for watching. Cheers guys.